Greetings, fellow Gorehounds. Before we begin this review, I want to first remind all of you that SAG-AFTRA and the WGA, the Actors Guild and the Writers Guild, are still currently on strike. So I'm going to include in the description of this video a link to both of their websites so that you can further educate yourself on why exactly these two guilds are striking, as well as a link to the Entertainment Fund if you want to help them more directly. And as you probably already know, movies cannot get made without writers and actors, as much as the rich fucks in charge want to convince all of you that they can be replaced with AI. They can't, and they shouldn't be replaced with AI. So fuck the corporates, support the unions, and let's get on with this review. Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about Cobweb, an unsettling little Halloween film that they of course released a couple months back in the middle of summer. But thankfully it is now currently available on streaming for us to rent, so we were finally able to see it. And I am happy to report that this movie is really good. It is a shame that it's not being released properly in the Halloween times because it is 100% a Halloween movie. But I will say this. Having seen the movie now, I understand why they had trouble marketing and releasing it.
So easy to give away the twists.
Yeah, the major selling point of this movie is also the main major spoiler of this movie. Without the major selling point, all you really have is a movie about a child experiencing some extreme domestic abuse, which is not exactly something you can sell to people as like, oh, it's a fun Halloween romp.
Right, yeah. This is not a feel-good movie.
No, it's not a feel-good movie. So I understand why they had trouble marketing it. But let me just say this. Yes, the first half of this movie is very much about a kid dealing with an extreme situation of domestic abuse. We're talking like gaslighting, unlawful imprisonment.
Yeah.
And other
getting
things.
Locked in the basement for days on end.
And it is very uncomfortable, it's very unsettling, and it's hard to watch at times. Especially if you have any experience with that kind of shit. It's gonna hit you. It's gonna hit you pretty hard. But if you can make it into the second half of this movie, it turns into a completely different kind of movie, and one that is simultaneously more fun, as well as just being more ghoulish.
Yeah, the dad, I believe, is played by Dan Stevens, right?
No, the dad is played by Antony Starr.
Anthony Starr, okay.
Who plays Homelander on The Boys.
Right.
And the mom is played by Lizzy Caplan, who some of you know from Freaks and Geeks, from Castle Rock. She was Annie Wilkes on that.
Yeah.
She was also in Cloverfield. So Lizzy Caplan's been around. She's often been around in the comedy realm, but she's dipped her toes into horror a couple times.
Yeah, and she's really good here because she comes off as simultaneously menacing and perpetually terrified.
Absolutely. At the center of this movie is this mystery that starts when our main character, this boy, starts hearing this voice of this little girl, whose name, it turns out, is actually Sarah, in the wall of his room. And over the course of the movie, you're constantly trying to figure out, okay, did his parents kidnap some little girl and just chain her in the room? Is there a monster in his wall?
Yeah, is it a ghost?
Is it a ghost? Because the parents talk about like a girl that went missing on Halloween. So this is why the main character cannot go out trick-or-treating on Halloween because it's too dangerous. But you kind of get the impression that that little girl went missing because of his parents. So you're like, is it the ghost of the little girl? Is she chained up in the wall? What the fuck is going on? And on top of it all, the parents seem legitimately terrified about the boy figuring all this out.
Yeah.
Like, they don't seem like it's just, oh, you must obey me. They seem like they themselves are scared. So you're like, they're still terrible people, but you are curious as to why they're scared.
Yeah, because in the beginning, you're like, oh, they don't want him to know because they don't want him to know the horrible truth, make them look bad and all that shit. But then they get scared to a point where you're like, wait, I don't think this is about him anymore.
Yeah, this is more than just like the boy finding out your dirty little secret. There's something else going on here.
Something else going on.
And that's the intrigue that kind of drives the movie all the way to about like the beginning of the final act.
Yeah.
During that period, you're also dealing with, the boy being bullied at school. There's the one teacher that believes he's being abused, but is handling it in like the worst way possible by trying to go to the parents. She's not a bad person. She just doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah, she has absolutely no idea how to handle this situation.
Never been in this situation before.
Yeah, even if it was a normal child abuse situation. She unprepared for that. Let alone
completely unprepared.
Something of this magnitude.
You also have like the parents getting increasingly more mad and more protective of the boy, chaining him up in the basement at one point. It's super unsettling. I do also want to say that Lizzy Caplan and Antony Starr give great performances.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you kind of love to hate these parents. They are so perfectly unsettling. And on top of that, playing the abusive parents that's also just petrified themselves.
Oh, yeah, they
nailed that thread. Needle that thread. I meant needle, not nail. All right? All right. Now let's move on, shall we? If you like seeing either of them, like when she was playing Annie Wilkes and when he was playing Homelander in like controlling situations where they're like partially bad guys, then you'll probably like this movie.
Yeah, one of the tip-offs that's not like a normal domestic abuse situation is the fact that the Antony Starr character, the dad, yells at the mom, but never hits her.
No, he doesn't seem to be abusive towards her, yet she's like petrified all the time.
Yeah.
And at first you're like, oh, is it because of him? But as the movie goes on, you're like, no, that doesn't seem to be what she's afraid of. She's afraid of something else, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that we're in the pre-spoiler section because I really want to tell you what happens in that last third that shifts this entire goddamn movie on its head.
Yeah.
But I can't. It's a spoiler.
Yeah, I did guess it in the first half hour.
You did, actually.
I did,
Jack was actually really good at figuring out what was going on here. When I get to the spoiler section, I'll also mention some other movies that it did remind me of. There are some recent movies that this can be likened to, but it would spoil the movie.
Yeah.
In fact, for some of those movies, it would spoil them too.
It would spoil those movies as well. Yeah.
Closest thing I can compare it to is something like The Black Phone, because that doesn't give away the spoiler in this movie, because the secret of The Black Phone is completely different than the secret from this movie.
Right, yeah.
Even that is not like a full one-to-one comparison, because there's a fairy tale element to this movie that isn't in The Black Phone.
Correct.
So definitely check out Cobweb if you get a chance. It's been kind of buried this Halloween season with all the other big horror releases, so check it out. You can go rent it on streaming. It's on various streaming platforms. Pick your poison, enjoy, and let us move on to the spoilers.
All right, last chance, bitches.
This is your last chance.
This is your last chance, because there's nothing we can say that ain't gonna spoil it in this spoiler section. So we're gonna give you a little extra time.
Little buffer here.
Yeah. All right. So the closest movie I can compare this to is Malignant.
Malignant and
Barbarian.
Those are the two movies I was thinking of. So obviously, if you've seen Malignant, the twist of Malignant is the killer is actually her conjoined twin in the back of her head.
Yeah. Now, this is not a conjoined twin.
No.
But it is a sibling that has been kept in the walls.
Yes. It turns out that Sarah, the voice in the wall, is actually his elder sister who has been chained in the walls and has been living in the walls because the parents are terrified of her and don't want to look at her because she's kind of terrifying looking. And over the years, she's just gotten more terrifying looking. And she's also gained like superhuman strength and abilities.
Yeah, she has like monster powers.
Because she has been climbing like the walls and like digging tunnels underneath the fucking house.
Yeah.
For like a long ass time. Longer than this kid's been born.
Yeah. She is basically a spider monster.
Yep, absolutely. One of the other aspects of this movie is that they do a really good job of keeping her in the shadows even when she's like
outside
on screen.
The walls. Yeah.
So like they kind of jaws it up, but when you do get good looks at her, they are good looks.
Yeah, when they reveal her, you get a good look at it.
Like when you get that good look at her face towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which looks just straight up like a creepypasta, like elongated mouth.
Oh yeah. And they made sure not to let that overstay its welcome.
No, they didn't.
You know, like, because it's one of those, it's like, do you want to see my face? And she pulls her hair apart. You're like, ah!
And so at the end of this movie, there's this bloodbath of a sequence because the kid that he was bullied by earlier on in the movie, he ended up pushing down a flight of stairs and the kid ended up breaking his leg. And as a result of this, that kid's like, I guess, cousin, brother.
Yeah, his family, the other boys' his family.
Gets together with a bunch of his older guy friends and they try to like siege the house. I don't know what their plan was, if they were just gonna like kill everybody.
Yeah, it's one of those like, yeah, we're gonna get him. And you're like, what does that mean? Like, what are you actually intending to do here?
So, like, it briefly turns into, like, a home invasion, kind of like a You're Next. They're even wearing, like, similar animal masks.
Yeah.
But then it turns into, like, do you remember the Brian Cox sequence of Trick or Treat?
Yes.
The sister crawling around on the walls and just killing them all off one by one.
They just get constantly picked off.
So bottom line is, by the end of this movie, it turns into a bloody, gory monster movie. But they couldn't promote that because it's a straight up spoiler. Like, it's a plot twist that it turns into that. And I understand, like, they didn't want to fucking give that away, but I also understand that, like, without that, they didn't really have much to market that would, like, sell people on the movie, right?
She's inside the walls!
Now, here's the thing. If you think with that reveal that the movie's gonna turn into like the parents were right all along. No. The movie is very clear that the parents were still abusive to the both of them.
Yeah.
But it also allows the sister to still be a monster at the end.
Yeah, because she is a straight up monster. She is not, by the time she actually escapes the walls, any empathy and sympathy you had for her drains because of the shit she does.
And like Malignant, she just has complete like anger towards her brother.
Yeah.
Resentment. That's the word.
Yeah. She's gonna kill him.
100%.
You know, she's gonna kill him. And you're like,
hell, there's a point where it looks like she's gonna chain him up so that he has to live the way she lived.
Yeah.
Even though it's not his fault. So she's essentially become her parents.
Yeah.
But like a monstrous version of it.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, come on.
She's the kid who's been abused by the abusive parents who becomes just as monstrous as the parents, if not more so.
Yeah.
And he's the kid abused by the parents who grows up to be a better person who's not like that.
Yeah.
They're kind of like the two opposite ends.
But he's still like haunted by the fear that he could be like
Yes, absolutely. Or that his sister could be around any corner.
At any corner, yeah.
I also like the detail that she has long hair like Rapunzel.
Yes.
So it like turns into like a horrific version of Rapunzel by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But instead of being kept above ground, she was kept in the walls and below ground.
Yeah, like she has this huge, long ass mat of hair that's like a tail.
Which,
you know?
Like a cape in The Incredibles, ends up becoming her undoing in this.
Yeah, because they managed to pull her into the basement again using the fucking hair mat. Oh god!
And so by the end of this movie,
I'm surprised they didn't burn the house down with her in it.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Absolutely. So by the end of this movie, it turns into this fun, creepy, ghoulish creature feature. But I'm still gonna warn you, you're gonna have to sit through some really hard to watch child abuse up until that point. And that child abuse is partially what kind of makes the finale hit as hard as it does.
It is, yeah.
Because even though it's not necessarily him the whole time getting revenge, though he does get revenge, he fucking poisons his parents.
Yeah.
With the rat poison they use to kill people. It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
It turns into like a straight up creature feature, but what I like about it, it works both as a straight up creature feature, but also a movie that is about something a little bit more.
Yeah. It holds on to its metaphor.
You know, because at the end of the day, this movie is still a movie about child abuse.
It's the type of story that like the horror genre can really excel at, which is these kind of like mythical, symbolic stories that work both as a metaphor and as a literal plot.
Absolutely. And like, if you look at it like from like a mythological kind of symbolic point of view, she's like the dark half of him.
Yeah, she is.
Just like Malignant, right?
Yeah.
Like he didn't go through the same exact experiences she did. Though it was very clear the parents were going in that direction.
Yeah, they were afraid he was going to become like her.
You know, the moment he pushed someone down the stairs and they chained him in the basement, instead of like having a talk with him, instead of like trying to be parents and being like, why did this happen? What's going on? You can't, or giving
because
the lecture
their assumption is he tried to murder that kid and failed.
Yeah, and instead they chain him in the basement, which I'm like, this is what led to the sister being who she is, right? Like, like instead of like actually being a parent, you instead made your child more monstrous.
Yeah, but like you also find yourself going, did the sister start murdering people before or after they started putting her in the basement?
It's a good question, because I hadn't considered it before until your wife actually brought it up. I left the movie under the impression that the parents killed the little girl that saw her. She left the impression that Sarah killed the little girl.
Yeah, I was under the impression that the parents had done it because they had found out about Sarah, but by the end of the movie...
That's what I thought,
yeah, but by the end of the movie, the idea that maybe Sarah had just killed that girl. Yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a chill... It's very chilling.
Yeah, and it doesn't go in directions that I expected. I know you figured it out like right from the get-go.
Yeah, but I'm so used to like.
I mean, to be fair, you threw out like 4 different possibilities.
Yeah, I threw out 4 different possibilities, but eventually whittled it down to the one that it was, the things that were happening.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I'm often used to me going, this movie would be great if they do this, and then the movie not doing that.
And then this movie did it.
This movie actually did it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know, so I like it when I'm like, all right, what's the most fucked up thing I can come up with based on what's happening?
Bam.
And then bam, movie just does it. I mean, like, with Malignant, I didn't have a chance.
Oh, God.
There was no chance with Malignant, because they just fucking...
Malignant is like, what's the most bonkers direction we can go in? And then they're just like...
Yeah, what would nobody fucking expect? And you're like, psychic conjoined twin.
It's also why Barbarian's another comparison I make, because the twist in Barbarian was like that. It was like...
Yeah, you're like, what the fuck? Why is there... What is going on? Are they like ghouls? Are they trolls? What the fuck's happening?
And that's another movie in which there's a monstrous creature that's actually a person. That has been morphed into a monster over time. That is living in a... Well, not exactly in the house, but like in like weird tunnels that it created.
Yeah. And that's actually something that the horror genre is really good at, which is it gets you to buy into the supernatural in a way no other genre does. Yeah. Not even fantasy. Like, fantasy would have to explain it somehow.
No, horror doesn't.
It's like you have to at least say it's magical.
Yeah.
You know, or it's a miracle. Like, in horror, you don't have to do that.
True.
You don't have to lampshade it. You lock someone up in a basement for 20 years, they just turn into a troll or something. You know, like, you're just like, okay, yeah, all right.
Yep. You know? Absolutely. That should give you an idea of what this movie's like. Like, the first portion of the movie, I would compare to something like The Black Phone, but the second half of the movie, I would compare to something like Malignant or Barbarian.
Yeah.
If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you should definitely check out Cobweb.
Yes. Thumbs way up.
Thumbs definitely up. Where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me here on YouTube, where I stream throughout the week, generally later in the evening, starting around between like 8 and 9 p.m. Always check around 8 and 9 p.m. to see if I'm streaming, because I'd love to see you there. And you can also follow me on
Blue Sky?
Blue Sky. You can find me on Blue Sky at Count Jackula, because I have that name again.
It's the one you do.
It's the one I do now. And I'm still on Twitter, Counting Jack, for however long that lasts. Mm-hmm. And find me on Instagram and TikTok and shit. TikTok, I'm Real Count Jackula, and on Instagram, I am Satanic Jackula. Anyway, how about you?
Y'all know me. I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Blue Sky. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema, and I'll be there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way, though we'll certainly welcome more. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, be sure to comment below, and be sure to comment below. I already said that. Be sure to comment below, be sure to comment, whatever. Comment the fuck below. Since you made it this far into the vlog, then I want you to comment below using the hashtag PeterPumpkinBeater. Use the hashtag PeterPumpkinBeater, that way I know. That way Jack knows. That way the whole world knows you watched this vlog all the way through, and your sister is scary, man. Your sister's really fucking scary.
She's in the goddamn walls.
She's in the walls.